Okay, here I continue with the Veldt. He bent and picked up a bloody scarf. This yours? No. George Hadley's face went rigid. It belongs to Lydia. They went to the fuse box together and threw the switch that killed the nursery. The two children were in hysterics. They screamed and pranced and threw things. They yelled and sobbed and swore and jumped at the furniture. You can't do that to the nursery. You can't. Now, children. The children flung themselves onto the couch, weeping. George, said Lydia Hadley, turn on the nursery just for a few moments. You can't be so abrupt. No, you can't be so cruel. Lydia, it's off and it stays off and the whole damn house dies as of here and now. The more I see of the mess we've put ourselves in, the more it sickens me. We've been contemplating our mechanical electronic navels for too long. My God, how we need a breath of honest air. As he marched about the house turning off the voice clocks, the stoves, the heaters, the shoe shiners, the shoelacers, the body scrubbers, the swabbers and massagers, and every other machine he could put his hand to. The house was full of dead bodies, it seemed. It felt like a mechanical cemetery, so silent, none of the humming hidden energy of machines waiting to function at the tap of a button. Don't let them do it, wailed Peter at the ceiling, as if he was talking to the house, the nursery. Don't let Father kill everything. He turned to his father. Oh, I hate you. Insults won't get you anywhere. I wish you were dead. We were, for a long time. Now we're going to really start living. Instead of being haddled and massaging, we're going to live. Wendy was still crying and Peter joined her again. Just a moment, just another moment of nursery, they wailed. Oh, George, said the wife, it can't hurt. All right. If they'll just shut up, 1 minute, mind you, and then off forever. Daddy, 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 sang the children, smiling with wet faces. And then we're going on vacation. David McLean is coming back in a half hour to help us move out and get to the airport. I'm going to dress. You turn the nursery on for a minute, Lydia. Just a minute, mind you. And the three of them went babbling off while he let himself be vacuumed upstairs through the air flue and set about dressing himself. A minute later, Lydia appeared. I'll be glad when we get away, she said. Did you leave them in the nursery? I wanted to dress too. Oh, that horrid Africa. What can they see in it? Well, in 5 minutes we'll be on our way to Iowa. Lord, how did we ever get in this house? What prompted us to buy a nightmare? Pride, money, foolishness. I think we'd better get downstairs before those kids get engrossed with the damned beasts again. Just then they heard the children calling, Daddy, Mommy, come quick, quick! They went downstairs in the air flue and ran down the hall. The children were nowhere in sight. Wendy, Peter. They ran into the nursery. The Veltland was empty, save for the lions waiting, looking at them. Peter? Wendy? The door slammed. Wendy, Peter. George Hadley and his wife whirred and ran back to the door. Open the door, cried George Hadley, trying the knob. Why, they've locked it from the outside. Peter, he beat against the door. Open up. He heard Peter's voice outside against the door. Don't let them switch off the nursery in the house, he was saying. Mr. and Mrs. George Hadley beat at the door. Now don't be ridiculous, children. It's time to go. Dr. McLean will be here in a minute, and then they heard the sounds. The lions on 3 sides of them in the yellow veldt grass, padding through the dry straw, rumbling and roaring in their throats. The lions. Mr. Hadley looked at his wife, and they turned and looked back at the beasts edging slowly forward, crouching, tails stiff. Mr. and Mrs. Hadley screamed, and suddenly they realized why those other screams had sounded familiar. Well, here I am, said David McLean in the nursery doorway. Oh, hello. He stared at the 2 children seated in the center of the open glade eating a little picnic lunch. Beyond them was the water hole and the yellow Veltland. Above was the hot sun. He began to perspire. Where are your father and mother? The children looked up and smiled. Oh, they'll be here directly. Good, we must get going. At a distance, Mr. McLean saw the lions fighting and clawing and then quieting down to feed in silence under the shady trees. He squinted at the lions with his hand tipped to his eyes. Now the lions were done feeding. They moved to the waterhole to drink. A shadow flickered over Mr. McLean's hot face. Many shadows flickered. The vultures were dropping down the blazing sky. "A cup of tea?" asked Wendy in the silence.